world, I've got to give a huge shout out to the amazing folks who made this session possible today. It's got to start with ACSN, which is the Alumni Career Services Network. And it's a group of all the Alumni Career Services folks at your universities, your alma maters, who made this possible. So do me a huge favor. Give your Alumni Career Services folks tons of love. And the best way to do that in 2025 is, of course, to do it through the power of emojis. So join me in the chat, have an emoji waterfall for the amazing folks who made this possible. And I want to give a couple of shout outs in particular. Number one, to Michael Steelman over at William and Mary. If you're a William and Mary alum, just know you've got one of the very best leading your alumni career services. I've known Michael since I worked at LinkedIn, and he is awesome. In addition, I have to give a shout out to the alumni teams at NYU, BU, and UVA because they all brought in over 100 alumni to support their success out there. So if you're a NYU Violet or BU Terrier or UVA Cav, give your team lots of love for helping to organize this and get the word out. Okay, that being said, let's get to the facts. We know that times are tough right now. We know that things are a little rough in the market, whether you're in the private sector, whether you're in government. There's basically lots of craziness out there in the markets. And I know that firsthand because when I was in grad school looking to change careers, it was in the middle of the Great Recession, the last time things looked like this. One of the things that I learned working at LinkedIn right after grad school is that even during the toughest times, there is incredible opportunity out there. And so just like I've been working on this for a decade and a half, I want to show you how to weather the storm and come out stronger than ever. And to that end, I want to share with you the same secrets I've been sharing with top students, top alumni around the world to help you land that next job that's going to light your path to what you're excited about. But I have to warn you, this is not at all your standard webinar. We've all been to a million webinars during the course of the pandemic where we kind of came in with all these high hopes and then we saw a million bullet points and we kind of fell asleep. Not today. Instead, we've got three things coming your way. Number one, we've got pop quizzes that I want you to answer in the chat. Number two, we've got chances to volunteer for live demos because I'm going to literally show you how to do all of this on my screen, and I want you to come along with me for the ride. So if you volunteer for me, I'm going to bat for you in the form of a free profile makeover to the first people who raise their hands when the time is right. So for all those Jeopardy trigger fingers out there, get ready. Your time is almost here. And then finally, one last thing, I want you to get ready to take action because talking is great, listening is great, but actually taking action on the things that matter most, that's what this session is really about. And I want you to have all that power at your fingertips starting now. So here we go. First pop quiz. If you had to guess how many resumes the average recruiter is juggling here in the spring of 2025, what do you think is the average number? Is it A, 100 resumes per recruiter, B, 1,000 resumes per recruiter, or C, a whopping 10,000 resumes all at once? And I know the chat is blowing up with all these B's, all these C's, but it turns out that Jonah and Florian and Kay and a couple others are all absolutely correct because the answer is C. Let me pull back the curtain on what's really happening here. It turns out that your recruiter out there at a nonprofit, a foundation, a startup, they're not just looking to fill one role, they have this massive portfolio of 30 to 40 roles. And if each of those roles is attracting hundreds of resumes in its own right, you don't need to be a math major to realize these poor recruiters are buried. So what do? Well, more and more recruiters are telling me, Jeremy, I am sick of this resume game. So many bad AI generated resumes, so many bad resumes that are just one size fits all. I'm just going to go on LinkedIn and I'm just going to find the right person for the job because it's a whole lot easier. And so all of a sudden, our question starts to switch, which is it's not so much about resumes, but how do you get found in the exact place the recruiters are looking, which of course is LinkedIn. And so the question becomes, are they looking for A, certain degrees, B, specific schools, or C, very precise job titles? So come back to the chat, let me know what you think. And I love this because even though we were all disagreeing about the first one, now everyone's on the same page. Ranaha says C, David says C, Margaret says C. And indeed, on the single most important screen in a recruiter's entire toolkit, which is the screen I'm showing you right now, the number one thing that they focus on, as you can see, is what can you do for me? And the reason this is the most important screen in the entire hiring universe is that, unfortunately, it's not the free LinkedIn that you and I can use, but instead a $10,000 per year per seat tool that every recruiter in the world buys from LinkedIn because it's the one tool in the world that gives them access to every professional. Over 1 billion professionals, all in one place, all searchable. That is a gold mine to recruiters. That's what we have to understand as job seekers. And so the way that I want you to understand this tool is I want you to pull up your LinkedIn profile right now. Now, whether you've had a LinkedIn profile for 20 years or 20 days, it doesn't matter. Get it on your screen right now and compare it to this example. If your profile, and specifically your headline, is focused on being a student today or focused on the last job that you had, that's great, but it's not enough because recruiters, as powerful as they are not mind readers. And so if you want them to find you, you've got to give them what they're looking for, which is not just where you've been or where you are today, but what you can do for them tomorrow. And if you're feeling stuck on this question, like Jeremy, I got laid off, things are changing, what should I do next? What I want to do right now is show you how to find your perfect path and give you a free profile makeover just for volunteering. And all you've got to do is be the first person to raise your hand in Zoom. And that first person is going to be Maritza Guzman. So, Maritza, you've got the hot seat. And Maritza, I'm going to give you the ability to unmute. So feel free to turn on your microphone, Maritza, and we'll be ready to rock. Welcome, Maritza.
Hey, hi, thank you.
Of course. How are you, Maritza?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Absolutely. And everyone, please give Maritza tons of love because it's super gutsy to put yourself out there, but that's the exact same kind of courage we all need right now in this crazy market. So, Maritza, tell us a bit about yourself. What have you been up to? What are you thinking about next?
Okay, so I've been in the philanthropy field for a couple of decades. I'm currently working for a consulting firm that also works with foundations and with nonprofit organizations. And I am looking for the next position that could be as executive director of a foundation. It could be as an independent consultant, but philanthropy is the field that I've been in.
Beautiful. I love that. And so you got a couple different avenues you're considering. And by the way, you're getting a lot of love from Kelly, from Pamela, everyone in the chat. So you got your rooting section here.
Love that.
Yes, there we go. Mutual love. And what we're going to do is before we even touch LinkedIn, we're going to come over to AI to help us boil down that ocean of opportunity. Because even during tough times, it can still feel a little overwhelming in terms of what's the right path? What makes sense for me? So Maritza, here's what I'm going to start with. And by the way, everyone feel free to do this on your own screen with whatever tool you prefer. If you like ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot, they've all been trained on similar data and they work in similar ways. So feel free to use your preferred tool. I'm going to say I've got a deep background in philanthropy, and then I want to give it even more to work with. And I'm going to give you this idea, Maritza, which I think is certainly not unique to me, which is that the best careers are not just built on following the trends or the fads, but staying true to yourself, the things that make you awesome. So, Maritza, I know this is hard to do because we're all our own worst critics. But if you were a friend who was bragging about you, what are some of the traits they would say makes Maritza so awesome?
She is a good writer, a good communicator. She is relationship driven. She creates long-standing relationships with coworkers, organizations, grantees. She is a strategic thinker and she's focused on, but she's also very good at execution of the details.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'm going to just say, this is a little plug for all the alumni career services folks out there. Maritza, I'm amazed you had that cold, which is awesome. We've got to start by knowing ourselves, as that old dude Socrates once said, before we can know the world around us. If you don't have that level of granularity, set up some time with your alumni career coach because they're here to support your success. That being said, once you have a sense of where you're coming from, what you're awesome at, let's see what that bridge is to the next world. So we're going to say, what are 10 specific job titles that match my skills and interests with an eye towards philanthropy? Because it sounds like you want to stay somewhere in that space. Is that right?
That's right.
Maybe philanthropy and or social impact. Okay, so there we go. We're going to put that in. And then I'm going to put this prompt in the chat, not just because I want to brag about how awesome Maritza is, but because I want you to be awesome too. So feel free to make it your own. Just copy and paste into your tool. And then what you're going to see is that AI is terrible at writing cover letters, terrible at writing resumes, but it is great at finding these hidden connections between who you are internally and the world around you externally. And you can see there are all of these things you could be doing. Strategic partnerships, program director, CSR, grant making, social impact consultant, chief impact officer. Again, the exact language of the recruiters and headhunters who are searching for you right now, Maritza. Now, to get this even more honed down, I'm going to ask the hardest question of all, which is what do you want, not just out of a job, Maritza, but out of life? Whether it's compensation, work-life balance, travel, social impact, prestige, whatever it is, what's important for you next?
Right now, it's compensation. I've got a kid in college.
Oh yeah. Hey, say no more. We've got a lot of higher ed folks on the line who get it. So we're gonna say
Yeah.
generate a stack rate table to compare these roles across my goals. And we're gonna say compensation, and then maybe we'll throw social impact in there just to have an interesting trade-off, right? Obviously private roles might give more money, but maybe nonprofit roles have more social impact. So now we're not just gonna look at the verbiage, we're gonna visualize it. Start to think about some of those trade-offs, some of those sacrifices that we all make to find the perfect path. Now, if you want to dive into one of these roles in particular, Marissa, and really understand what it feels like to do this job day in and day out, which of these roles is most intriguing to you?
Oh man. I'm just going to go with director of strategic partnerships.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if we want to learn about what this role is like, the number one thing we can do is talk to the people who are doing it. And so, watch this. Tell me this, Mirza. I don't know if you went to undergrad, grad school, any of those. What's the school that you've attended that you might want to tap into to learn from fellow amazing alumni?
I would go to my Yale network.
Beautiful. So whether it's Yale, whether it's University of Michigan, whether it's San Jose State, wherever you happen to have gone, one of the cool things that my team did at LinkedIn is we actually built this alumni directory for every one of those universities around the globe. So look up your alma mater. And by the way, here is the specific link for Yale. And obviously, if there are any Bulldogs on the line, they can grab that one. If not, find your specific school. And we're going to say, of these 150,000 Bulldogs, who's doing strategic partnerships, maybe with a focus on social impact. So we're going to put both of those things in quotes. Obviously, you can search for whatever you want to your heart's content. And then you're going to find all these cool people. World Economic Forum, Microsoft, African Bureau Stories, SAP, all these places that we can explore and learn. And why don't we start over here with Liba, who's a social and civic impact pioneer? Because that headline just jumped off the page for me. I'm like, I got to know more about this. So we check out Liba's profile, social and civic impact pioneer. And we can see that she's over at the Aspen Institute, which could be a great place for you, Maritza. Great chance to make some of that compensation, but also do good in the world. Now, if we want to learn from Liba about her experience at Aspen, her experience in this role, what should we do? Should we connect with her? Should we message her? What's your instinct, Maritza?
I usually message first.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you say message, but then
Mm.
Satya Nadella over at Microsoft says, ha ha ha, Maritza has fallen into my trap because I'm going to ask Maritza to take out her credit card and fork
Ah,
over 50 bucks a month for LinkedIn Premium. Now, as
yeah.
someone who already spent all this time paying to go to Yale, paying off student loans, all that stuff, do you want to pay LinkedIn on top of that just to connect with a fellow alum? Heck no.
No.
Sorry, Satya. Not happening. So here's what we do. Let's face facts. Even if you connected, even if you added a note, there's no guarantee that Liba ever sees that message. Because Maritza, if you had to guess, how often is Liba checking her LinkedIn inbox?
So am I going to her contact information?
Right? So you might want to look at her contact info because what's the one inbox that Liba is probably
Ah,
checking 10 times a day?
okay.
And that, of course,
Perfect.
is
Her email.
our work email, right? We all know that as
Yeah.
professionals ourselves. And here's the sad reality. LinkedIn has a billion users, but it has very little usage, which means your average users unlikely to see your message because they're just not plugged into the site. On the other hand, if we could find Liba's actual email, now we're in the game. And it turns out there's this little tool called Scrap that you can download as a Chrome extension. And look what it does. It not only finds her email address, it actually validates it for you to confirm that's correct. So, bottom line, with a handful of seconds, and I'm going to put this link into the chat, you can, let me put it one more time, scrap.io. will give you access to that. And there are absolutely other tools too, Hunter and Apollo. I just like Scrap because it's super easy, super free. Now, let's be even tougher though, Marissa, because you're sailing through this too easily. Let's complicate things. If you reach out to Liba and you found her email address and you're a fellow Bodog, but you're still a stranger, he doesn't know about you, what are the chances that Liba responds to your message no matter how great?
Not great.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's just the reality. Like we're all busy, we've got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things competing for our attention. So, what do we know about the human algorithm, Maritza, that is the one thing we trust above all others? It's not just where we went to school, it's what? What is the one thing we're all wired for as a social species?
Unknown. Who knows who? Connections? I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
friends, relationships. That's what we
Okay.
care about. And it turns out that's what LinkedIn has in spades. Because instead of reaching out cold, we go to Susan or Brian or any of these other mutual connections and we get an intro. And before you know it, we have someone going to bat for us, whispering into Liba's ear, and now we've got a guaranteed chat. Okay, so Liba schedules some time in her busy day to chat with her fellow bulldog. How do you want to make the most of that time, Maritza? What do you want to be asking Liba to discover if her path is right for you?
I want to know a lot more about the director of strategic partnerships. What accounts for success, what makes you successful in that position. Maybe, what are the things that you don't like about that position, and anybody else I can be talking to who also does that job.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I love the idea of really kind of doing like a Vulcan mind meld with this person on the other side of the wall to understand what that feels like, because no AI can simulate that. However, what I'm going to push you on, Maritza, is that at this stage of your career, you don't want to just find out what she does all day and that kind of stuff. That's kind of rookie stuff. You need to know whether that stuff is right for you. And if you want to bring it full circle, check this out. We're going to say generate 10 questions for a fellow alumna in the nonprofit sector to understand whether the Aspen Institute is a good fit for my skills, interests, and goals. And tell me this, Maritza, does ChatGPT know about your skills, interests, and goals?
Uh, it does now.
Yeah, yeah, this is the crazy thing.
Because I
It's so funny.
supplemented
We
a
are
little bit
so
about
used
it.
to talking to real people, right? And like, if you had just told someone, hey, these are my values, these are the things I care about, you probably would repeat it like 8 times because we know we're all kind of half listening. Versus with AI, it's kind of like, okay, well, you told me, so let's just bring it full circle. And this is the really cool thing is that AI is not here to do the like really annoying stuff of writing cover letters and all that. And we're going to get into why that's problematic. But it is really good at holding your feet to the fire if you give it the chance. And so if you know that it's critical for you to have a chance to build great relationships because that's your superpower, Maritza, you owe it to your future self, you owe it to the world, in fact, to find a place to leverage that superpower. And Maritza, what I would love to do for you is a free profile makeover to get you on your way. So drop me a line right on LinkedIn. I will always accept that connection request. And then
All
I'm
right.
happy to go to bat, help you stand out. Okay, Maritza?
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Very
Maritza.
helpful.
Good luck out there. And thank you for all that you're doing for the world. I know it's a tough moment, especially in that sector, but much, much love for myself and everyone on the line. Way to go, Maritza.
Good.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Give Maritza tons of love, y'all, because she rocked the house. And if you've got juicy questions that you want to ask on any of these topics, whether it's AI or LinkedIn or career exploration, you can always feel free to ask those questions in the chat, or better yet, by raising your hand. I'll be honest, the chat is going by pretty fast. So if you raise your hand, I'll be sure to call on you. So let's go to Claudia Lopez. Claudia, what's on your mind? And Claudia, let me give you the microphone. So sorry about that. And Claudia, you should have the ability to unmute now. So if you want to ask your question live, go for it.
Yay! I can unmute now. Okay. So you were able to look at Scrap and then find people's emails. How do you download um, tools to use on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. So Scrap is just a Chrome extension. And it turns out that there's a whole cottage industry of these tools, which are largely built for salespeople. But here's the beautiful thing. Let the salespeople pay the crazy prices. Maybe they need to download a million emails a month or whatever. But for us regular people, all we can do is use the free version, get the information we need, build the relationships we need, and get a huge advantage in our career. So check out this, or Hunter.io is a great tool. You can try out a couple of them, and they're all pretty much free for regular users like ourselves. Okay, Claudia? All right, great question. Let's go next to Jim Mason. Jim, I'm going to give you the microphone. Feel free to unmute. Hey, Jim.
Hi. So there are two problems I've had with LinkedIn. One,
Yeah.
first of all, is they always want you to verify your profile. I tried that, but they have what I call weird rules you can't get around. So, in my case, my first name is James. I don't want to go by James. I want to go by Jim. You're not allowed to do that with a verified profile.
Yeah.
The second thing with LinkedIn that's really hard, um, it sounds idiotic, but if you come out of college and you have no experience, you're probably in better shape than some of us who are very experienced. One of the challenges on LinkedIn is you only can create one profile. So if you've
Yeah.
had 10 different jobs or whatever it is, or five different careers, let's say, there's no way on LinkedIn to create five different versions of what you're capable of if you're interested in, say, these five potential roles that you've done before. That's not
Yeah.
possible. So the hard thing in LinkedIn is you get one profile and that's it. And there's nothing you can do with it. So for me, that means you're not doing the marketing on LinkedIn. You're having to do it somewhere else. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Absolutely. So great questions, Jim. So let's talk verifications. So verifications is like Jim said, that kind of annoying thing where LinkedIn is like, please verify, please verify. Now, it's a good idea in theory, in the sense that someday LinkedIn's going to get rid of all the spammers, all the people with fake profiles by just showing people who are verified. However, because we are not at that stage yet, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't rush out there to verify, no matter how much they nag you, because at this point, having a verification or not having a verification isn't going to change anything. So hold on to that. Number two, and this is the bigger problem today, is you're right. You only have one profile. So what do you do with it? Well, the number one thing I can recommend is if you had just gone on this journey that Maritza was on, where you said, hey, I'm interested in director of strategic partnerships, but I might want to do CSR, you could say, what are the 10 key skills in common between director of strategic partnerships roles and CSR roles? And now we're going to basically build a Venn diagram, and I'm putting that prompt right in the chat, of the sort of key things that bind those two roles together. And unsurprisingly, between almost every role in the universe, there's a lot of overlap, a lot of union, which means if we can come back to these things again and again throughout our profiles, we can appeal to both kinds of recruiters. Now, I'm going to mention one thing for all my international friends out there, because I know this is a really tough moment for international students and international alumni. If you speak a second language and you are applying for jobs around the world, maybe jobs in the US and jobs in Brazil, what you can do is the rare trick of having a second profile. And the way you do that is you come to profile language, you click that little pencil icon, and you add in a second profile, say in Portuguese, and now you can have a completely separate profile down in Sao Paulo and a completely different profile in New York. And the perfect version is always shown to the right recruiter based on their language. So a nice little advantage just for the multilingual job searchers out there. But I totally feel your pain, Jim, and I encourage you to try some of those tools, even if you're just searching in English. Okay, for now, here's what we're going to do. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep on rolling, but I'm going to be taking lots more questions throughout. But now it's time for a question for you guys. If you were that recruiter at the Aspen Institute, at Google, at any organization in the world, you have a billion profiles to search through. How do you know who's a good fit? Is it A, the classes they took, B, the keywords they listed, or C, the GPA they worked so hard to earn back in school? And I know that A and C are tempting, but I see a lot of folks saying B. Leah's saying B, Paul is saying B, Laura's saying B, and indeed, keywords are a recruiter's best friend because they allow us to instantly sift through this giant haystack and find that perfect digital needle. And to prove it to you, I'm going to take you right into the belly of the beast, show you an actual search inside LinkedIn Recruiter. So here I am, I'm looking for a project manager in Chicago with these skills, and lo and behold, look who rises to the top of my screen. Not just people who have those skills anywhere, but people who have the most important keyword, the job title, in their most important section, their headline. You might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, Jeremy, why is the headline so important? It's so short, it's so meaningless. Well, it turns out the very brevity of the headline is what gives it its power. Because LinkedIn search engineers have a tough job. Every single day, every single hour, every single minute, they've got to break millions of ties because lots of us have the same keywords throughout our profile. but because your headline is limited to just 220 characters, shorter than a tweet or a blue sky or whatever we're calling it these days, the reality is it is the most authentic section of your profile, the hardest to game section of your profile, and the section that gets the most weight in the algorithm. And with that in mind, I would like to help one lucky job seeker find their most important keywords and get them into their most important sections. And that lucky job seeker is going to be Rachel Duran. So, Rachel, feel free to unmute, feel free to turn on your webcam if you like, and then everyone give Rachel tons of love for being our awesome next volunteer. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, everyone. So great to get some help today.
Oh, of course. Thanks for joining. And Rachel, tell us where you went to school so we can give some love to your alumni career team and then what you're up to in your search.
Sure, I am a Quinnipiac University alumni,
Woohoo.
and where I'm at in my search is I am currently a marketing manager, and I'm looking to take that next step in my career path and looking for what specific industries might be good for being in marketing in this current environment.
Yeah. And just to be clear, if we want to really understand what it feels like to be a recruiter, what is the recruiter searching for right now here, Rachel, that you want to be found for? What is that dream role?
Probably marketing director or brand manager.
Okay, I love that. Marketing director, brand manager. And then to really understand how this works, let's put on that recruiter cap and try it ourselves. So, everyone, please join me on LinkedIn. And I want you to search for the exact thing that you want to be found for. And what you're going to discover, Rachel, is that when you run this search and you look at all the people results, you're going to notice a little pattern showing up again and again. Tell me this, Rachel. What do Kavita, Jennifer, Leah, Tanya, Alex, Irene, all these people all have in common?
Their title is very obvious and clearly stated and short and sweet and to the point.
And I want to be clear, it's not even just their title. Like Irene's a CMO. I think I saw that Katie was a director of communications, but they literally have marketing director, those two words, in
Mhm.
their most important section, which is their headline. So if anyone out there is like, wait a second, can I trust this Jeremy guy? He seems a little crazy. Always discover that the algorithm is hiding in plain sight. Every time you search, you'll see this play out. Now, with that in mind, is it okay, Rachel, if I pull up your profile, not to criticize it, but to shower it with keyword magic?
Go for it.
Oh, I love that. Rachel, you are awesome. Everyone, give Rachel so much more love. It takes a lot of guts to put yourself out there in front of hundreds of folks, but it's also the exact bravery that we all need in this tough moment. So here's Rachel's profile. And then, Rachel, tell me this. You've got marketing manager there. You've got all this great stuff like brand manager and fly fisher. But one of the things that's holding you back is what is missing right now, Rachel, that you absolutely need to get found for those roles.
That title that I'm looking
Yeah.
for.
Now, here's the big question, because I know people are thinking to themselves, wait a second, I know that Rachel wants to be a marketing director. Maybe I want to be a marketing director, but I haven't done that job yet. How can we find a way to get that into our headline without being unethical? Any guesses, Rachel?
I've seen people do aspiring marketing manager, aspiring marketing director, but I've always been a little bit hesitant to do so.
Yeah. And by the way, it doesn't have to be aspiring. It could be seeking marketing director roles. Just come out and say it.
Okay.
Say exploring marketing director opportunities. Let folks know that you're at the exploration stage. And then, of course, the big question is, do you have a current boss, Rachel, who might come across this profile and say, wait a second, what is Rachel up to?
Definitely.
Yeah. And so I think for anyone who's currently employed right now, you're like, that's all great. You're like a free agent. What if you've got a boss breathing down your neck? So, bottom line, it turns out that there is a sneaky way around that. And it is, of course, the open to work section. Now, Rachel, have you ever played around with this open to work thing, like that green badge that you see sometimes?
It is currently live on my profile.
Okay. And so you probably have then the recruiters only version. Is that right?
Correct.
Beautiful. And this is the great thing that so many people don't know about is that if you want to send the signal of the exact jobs you want and where you want them to the exact right people, the recruiters of the world, you can do it without that green badge that a lot of people are freaking out about. Please, 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 just be sure to choose recruiters only. And here's a really cool thing, Rachel. Even if someone at your HR department happened to have a $10,000 LinkedIn recruiter license, they would still not see your signal because they would be filtered out from that search. Does that
Mm.
privacy make sense, Rachel?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I have it currently set to, thankfully.
That's beautiful. And I would actually argue, like, given how much companies tend to hire us and then let us go and hire us and let us go, there's not a whole lot of loyalty left in the world. I would probably keep this on all the time, just because if there's a great opportunity that falls into your lap, why not go for it? But that being
Absolutely.
said, even if you were to turn that on, Rachel, even if you were
Mhm.
to signal your exact interest, who are you up against for these roles? How stiff is the competition?
Quite large and international.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Almost a million people around the globe doing battle for these roles. Now, if that's tough for you, Rachel, who is it really tough for? Who does not want to read a million profiles this weekend?
Recruiters.
Exactly. Let's have a little sympathy for those poor recruiters out there. And let's think about what they do next. If you had just searched for marketing director and you got a million results, what would you filter for next, Rachel, to cut that list down?
Skills related to the specific role that I'm hiring for.
Right. Can Rachel walk the talk? I don't want to put my reputation on the line for a stranger unless I'm absolutely convinced they can do the job tomorrow. Now, Rachel, if you want to figure out what the most important skills are for that specific job, where should you be looking on LinkedIn? Which of these sections is going to give you the truth straight from recruiters?
Companies.
Companies could be a good place to look. You can look at their values.
Hmm.
You could also look at people who have the job,
Or
but it
jobs.
turns out, yes, it is the job postings themselves that is where the gold is hidden. Because if we know that keywords are the currency of recruiters, this is the treasure chest. And it turns out inside all these job descriptions, where it goes on and on about B2B, SaaS, demand gen, content, ABM, that's the stuff we need. Now,
Hmm.
Rachel, I don't know about you, but when I look at a job description with like 100 bullet points, my eyes tend to water a little bit. I start to feel like I'm falling asleep.
Hmm.
How would you like some AI eyes to help you parse this crazy job description?
Yeah, what I've been doing actually is taking these roles and comparing them to my skills on my LinkedIn in addition to my resume.
Yes, because that is the exact thing that recruiters and algorithms are doing every single day without our knowledge. We might as well be a part of that process. So watch this, Rachel. We're going to say, what are the top 15 most important skill keywords in this JD, job description? We just paste in the entire thing, no formatting, no fancy coding. And then voila, for the first time in the history of job searching, we've got the truth. It's not just, oh, your resume didn't match. Sorry about it. We know exactly what we have to match. And
Mhm.
that is half the battle. Now, Rachel, as you indicated, this is the first step. What is that second step to find out how you're doing? What must we do next, Rachel?
Checking these skill words with my personal skill set and adding the ones that are relevant to me to my profile.
Exactly. So watch this. Here's a little LinkedIn hack for everyone out there. If you want to get your profile into one easy to use file, you go to more or resources on your own profile, you save to PDF, and then you ask ChatGPT the simplest but most important question of all time, which is, which of those skills am I missing? This is the exact thing that LinkedIn wants to know and the ATS wants to know. For the first time, Rachel, we've got the truth. This is what is
Great.
holding you back on these roles. Now, tell me this, Rachel. I know you are a marketing mastermind. Do you have experience with some of these things?
A few of them, yeah.
Yeah. And this is the thing that drives me crazy, which is that we have the skills, but we're not getting credit for them. So, what do we have to do about that, Rachel? How do we close that gap?
Either add them to my skill section or add them to the individual role section for my positions that I've held previously.
Yeah, I know it is so tempting just to go to skills, dump them in, just be done with it. But now think about those savvy LinkedIn engineers again, Rachel, the ones who design the algorithm. Do you think that they are content just to give you credit for listing something in your skill section, or do they want to see more context? Do they want to see more credibility behind that skill?
Definitely more credibility and having people that you've worked with previously, give you endorsements for those skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we trust Rachel, or did she just watch a YouTube video about these things last night? And so watch this. Even though I can't give you LinkedIn Recruiter because it's $10,000 a year, I can
Mhm.
give you the next best thing, which is free access to an actual ATS. We've all heard of the infamous ATS when we apply for jobs, it's scanning our resume. Watch what this ATS does. You come in here and say, I am looking for a director of marketing role. Maybe in this case, we'll just do marketing manager. And then we're going to search specifically for SQL, someone who has experience with SQL. We click search. Notice what's happening inside the belly of the beast, Rachel. It's not just saying, oh, yeah, this person has SQL. It's saying how much experience they have with SQL. What's the depth of that experience? Which means they are scraping this from your experience section. So,
Mm.
what must you do with all these experiences, Rachel?
Update them and give them a bit more context that could help me fulfill that marketing director role that I'm looking for.
Exactly. Get credit for the stuff that recruiters need right where their algorithms are looking. And one last thing, Rachel, and this could be life changing. Tell me this. Do you have a copy of your resume on your hard drive right now with full bullet points for your experience at Thomas and Thomas?
Yep.
Beautiful. I love that. Now, big question. How many times every single day, Rachel, is that resume on your hard drive getting scanned by recruiters?
Never.
A big fat goose egg. Because, of course, the recruiters can't see your personal hard drive. They can just see what you give them online. So now, here's the corollary question. How many times every single day, Rachel, is your LinkedIn profile getting scanned by recruiters alone?
A lot, and a lot of profile views also.
That's awesome. And if you had to guess, put a number on it. Is it like 10 times a day, 100 times a day?
Oh, it's 100 times a day.
So you're right about the 100 part. You're wrong about the suffix. The answer
Oh,
is 100 million times a day.
oh
And that's not
gosh.
just you, Rachel. That is every single person on LinkedIn. Because here's the crazy math behind LinkedIn Recruiter. When I pay $10,000 a year to search this tool, I want to search every last profile, every last word, every time I search. And so, Rachel, if you have 100 million searches every single day and they can't see the thing that's on your hard drive, what is the simplest action to take to close that gap today?
Copy and paste.
Copy and paste. It's not AI, it's not algorithms. Just give recruiters what they need where they're looking. And Rachel, to get you rolling, I'm going to give you one last homework assignment. And I know you thought you were done with homework after graduating from Quinnipiac, but here's what I want you to do for me, Rachel. I want you to get credit for all the things you're already awesome at in the exact place that recruiters are looking. And then as soon as you're done with that homework, you let me know, and I'm going to town with a full makeover from your cover photo down to your interest section. Okay, Rachel?
That's amazing. Thank you, Jeremy. I really appreciate the help.
You are amazing, Rachel. As one from one marketer to another, thanks for telling great stories out there in the world. And let's make the most important story of all, your own, the best one yet. Let's go, Rachel.
Appreciate it, Jeremy. You're awesome.
Thanks, Rachel. Okay, everyone, give lots of love to Rachel. And then what I would love to do is take some more questions. And I know you've got a million questions about LinkedIn because it's kind of like a black box. So if you want to know about the cover photo, open to work, endorsements, posting, premium, it's all fair game. Let's start with Victor. Victor Akange, I'm going to give you a chance to unmute. What's on your mind, Victor?
All right. So, for someone like, thank you, Jeremy. This is so insightful. For someone like me who has quite a bit of experience, I wear many hats, and I'm just seeing how the makeover you're doing with all the profiles. I'm like, how do I transform? How do I get my own profile to be what recruiters are looking at, not much more of a consultant. I find it hard, like trying to get specific jobs because I'm like everywhere. I've
Yeah,
touched a bit on this, I've done a bit of that, and
yeah,
things like that. So for someone
yeah.
like me, how do we make, how do I make that work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
such a great question, Victor, because I think for so many of us, we have what I call a portfolio career. And I am absolutely in the
Um,
same boat, Victor. Like, I've been a kindergarten teacher, I've worked in the nonprofit sector, I've worked for tech companies.
exactly.
Yeah. And so I think the critical thing is because you know that recruiters are time starved. We talked about 40 roles, thousands of resumes.
Mm,
They're just going to spend
mm,
a couple seconds looking at these things. You've got to make that complicated story super digestible. And that's actually the power of your headline and also your about section, is you can take this really complicated, chaotic experience and you can boil it down to this is the job I can do for you. And this is why you can believe in me. And so my challenge for anyone out there who's in that same boat as Victor or myself, think about this exercise. If you were a recruiter and you read nothing else besides the about section, what could you list in this first line, the exact thing you want to do? And then what are the three most relevant accomplishments you can highlight that make you a good fit for the role? And again, if you're struggling with that, Victor, you've got two amazing resources. Number one, you have your alumni career services team. And then number two, you can always come back to
Mhm.
AI. And you could say, I want to pivot my career from everything I've done into, let's say, finance. Maybe I've had a late stage change of heart and I'm ready to become a Wall Street banker guy. I put my resume in here and I say, what are 5 ways to reframe my CV around this experience? And what you will notice
Mm,
is that ChatGPT is so good at taking the reality and the mess of our careers and pulling out the stuff that matters for that audience. And if you can do this with your coach and with your AI, Victor, I guarantee you there's no brick wall in the world you can't bust through. Okay?
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Victor. Great question.
Uh,
And then let's go next to Monica, just in the interest of time. So sorry, Victor. I just want to make sure I give more people a chance to ask questions. Monica Van Buskirk, what's on your mind, Monica? Monica, I'm going to give you the microphone. There you go. For it, Monica.
Hi. In
Hi.
addition to my career, I have started a small business, but it is by no means taking over my full-time work. So for those of us who also have an entrepreneurial bent in addition to our career, what's the best way to highlight those? I know it's a little twist on what other folks
Yeah.
have asked.
And just to be clear, Monica, in your case, are you looking for a full-time role or are you sort of like considering different pathways? Like how solid are you on that path that you want?
How solid am I on the path that I want to grow the business?
Exactly. Well, no, the path in terms of your life. Like, do you want to have the business be the main thing that you do or a side thing?
A side thing.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, here's the
I'd
deal.
like to grow it enough to sell it someday.
Okay, great, great. Because I was gonna say I actually do a whole other workshop all about LinkedIn for entrepreneurship. And if you had
Ah,
told me, Jeremy, what I really want to do is I want to grow the business, I want to double down on it. There are all these things you could be doing to find leads and get clients and all that good stuff. That's for another day. For
okay.
today, let me be really honest with you. Even though I fell into the same trap when I was someone who was looking for a job while running a business, the reality is these recruiters who are making these split-second decisions are often looking for simplicity. And the problem with being an entrepreneur, even though you can say, oh, I'm entrepreneurial and I'm innovative and I'm driven, is
Yeah.
they say, now it's complicated. It's kind of a red flag. Are you going to quit the company when your business succeeds? Versus the candidate who's all in. So what
Yep.
I would do, and I know there are a lot of career coaches on the line who may disagree with me, they can feel free to weigh in on that, is I would probably downplay the entrepreneurship if your number one goal of your LinkedIn profile is to land a W-2 full-time job. Now, as priorities change, as the business grows, maybe you change that focus. But if your number one North Star is to get chosen by someone who's making these instant decisions, make it instantly easy to say yes. Okay, Monica?
Okay.
Great question. Okay, I wish I could take every last question, but I do want to allow time for our very final pop quiz. So here we go. This is a fun one. If you were the recruiter and you were down to your final interview slot and you had three equally strong candidates, who's getting that final interview slot every single time guaranteed? Is it candidate A who applied on your website, candidate B who came in via LinkedIn, or candidate C who was referred? And I can tell you for the alumni career coaches out there, you have trained your alums well because Marie and Margaret and Dino and Kelly and everyone are saying C. And I think even if we've never seen the data, this is just intuitive. Imagine that 75% of all candidates in the world are essentially total strangers. Because when you apply online, that is exactly what you are. You are coming in cold, they have no context for you, they have to take your word that you're as good as you claim. As a result, how do we as a species tend to treat strangers? With a little bit of mistrust, a little bit of skepticism, and you can see it in the numbers. Very few hires coming in through those online black boxes. On the other hand, this tiny minority of candidates getting referred, are taking up the vast plurality of the one thing we all want. They're getting hired. Why? Because they are not strangers. They are friends of friends. They are trusted in all the ways we talked about. And so, if you want to claim that 10x advantage over everyone else who's applying online, I'm going to show you how to get a referral at any company in the world. I'm going to make it really fair. I've taken out all hands. Put your hand up first if you want the first opportunity. And our final volunteer is Alexandra Fairchalk. So, Alexandra, I'm going to give you the microphone. And then, everyone, please give Alexandra lots of love for being our final volunteer. Welcome, Alexandra.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for doing this.
Oh, of course. Alexander, where did you go to school?
I went to the College of the Holy Cross.
Oh, beautiful. I actually noticed that Holy Cross, I'm going back to my data here, was I think number 5 out of all the country, all the schools in the country. And given that Holy Cross is so small compared to like an NYU or a BU, percentage-wise, Holy Cross crushed it. So I got to give tons of love to the Crusaders. Okay,
Yeah.
that being said, lots of love to Holy Cross. And then Alexander, lots of love for you because we want to break you in to whatever comes next for you. So, Alexander, throw down the gauntlet. If you could work at any organization in the world, what would make your heart go pitter patter?
Oh, okay. Well, that's hard. But right now I'm trying to get a medical science liaison position.
Yeah,
And I would love to work for some sort of big pharmaceutical company like Moderna or Johnson and Johnson or one of
yeah,
those.
yeah. And actually, Moderna is super cool because Moderna, unlike a Pfizer or a Johnson and Johnson, is actually much smaller. So it's a little bit more of a
Hmm.
challenge because there's not just a million people out there. So let's choose Moderna, and then let's see if we can find a way to break in. Now, first question for you, Alexandra. Do you know anyone at Moderna already?
I do. I think there's someone that I recently spoke with. I don't know anyone well at Moderna, but there are people in my network.
Okay, that's great because if you'd said, I've got 8 friends there and they're all my BFFs, I would say, Alexander, what are you doing on this webinar? Go out there and get those referrals. But this will make it more interesting. Now, Alexander, even though you don't know any of these people well, do you still believe in your heart of hearts that you can get a referral at Moderna?
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. And that is exactly the right attitude. Some folks may have seen I made this post on LinkedIn this morning, which is even during tough times, the number one thing we can all do is say, hey, yeah, the world sucks. Things are happening outside of our control, but here's what I can take control of. And this is the perfect opportunity to do that. So watch this, y'all. I want you to come to LinkedIn one last time, and this time search for your dream organization. It could be a company, it could be a startup, it could be a nonprofit. Whatever it is, they all have a page on LinkedIn, and then they all have a page where they list the number of employees. So if you click on that number of employees link, what you will discover is a secret company directory to Moderna that has every last person listed and more information about these people
Mm.
than even Moderna knows. So you don't have to hack into their servers. Okay, Alexandra? Okay, that being said, you are now facing the same challenge as recruiters. You have 7,000 people who could refer you. How do you want to filter this list, Alexandra, for the people who want to refer you, the people who have something in common with you?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I actually have gone to a lot of schools because I also went to medical school and graduate school. So I would search for Holy Cross people. I
Yeah,
probably would also search for Tufts University School of Medicine. That's where I
yeah.
went to medical school.
And one of the
And
things
then
I
I
think,
also went, hmm?
oh, keep going, Alexandra. This is great.
Oh, and then I was also going to say I also did a program at Mount Holyoke. So maybe I would do that. And then I don't know if also maybe you would try to filter by a location that you have a connection to. I don't know if even is
Yeah,
possible, but maybe people from like my hometown or,
yeah.
something more niche.
Yeah, for sure. There's all these different things that bind us together. I think schools are a great place to start. And I just want to call this out, especially for folks who went to big universities like Tufts, is that where do you think has more alumni, Alexandra? The medical school or Tufts University, period?
Tufts University, yeah.
And so the beautiful thing that you always want to do, because we made this crazy decision at LinkedIn back in the day, is you always want to get credit for the mothership as well as the specific professional school. And now
Mm.
you've got probably tens or hundreds of thousands of alums across these different alma maters. We click show results. We've got 74 people on the inside. And then remind me again, What was the team in particular that you were interested in? The specific kind of work? Oh yeah, I think Alexander may have muted for a second. Yeah, just keep that line unmuted there. There you go. Go ahead, Alexander. Yeah.
Sorry. The specific is a medical science liaison, what
Ah,
I'm really
okay.
interested in doing.
Beautiful. So we'll say medical science. We'll see if we can find some folks in that world. Okay, so here we go. We've got all these people on the inside. If we want to learn from Dean or Hazel, we're going to click on their profile. We're going to see what we have in common, in this case, Tufts. And by the way, we wouldn't have seen Dean if we had only searched for Tufts Medicine because we would have missed
Hmm.
Tufts, the university. So always make sure to search for that. Now, just to bring everything full circle here, Alexandra, does it make more sense to reach out to Dean cold through a message or a connection, or is there something way better on the screen?
The person who's the mutual
Exactly. So go to
connection, yeah.
Patrick, get that warm intro. Patrick goes to Dean, is like, Dean, I know you're busy, but you got to talk to Alexandra. Not only is she a fellow Tufts alum, but she's an absolute rock star. Dean says, okay, okay, I'll make some time for your buddy. So you've got this chat with an insider. This time, what's your agenda, Alexandra? Last time it was purely about conversation and learning. How do you drive this conversation towards a referral?
Um, I think I would reach out and I would give a little bit about my background and I would say I would love to learn about their experience and also get advice for transitioning.
Yeah.
And maybe another thought I had is because people frequently don't have a lot of time, maybe like offer a lower hanging fruit. So say, if you don't have time to talk, like here's the specific job that I'm applying for and here's the reference code. Would you mind putting me in for a referral for this if you don't have time to chat right now?
Yeah, so here's the trick. I will tell you that there are probably some alumni out there in the world who would be willing just to refer any other alum because they're so good-hearted. However, the reality is, out here in the real world, most people say, well, if I'm going to refer you, it's kind of like I'm putting my reputation on the line. I better have a sense of who I'm referring. So, what I would recommend, instead of necessarily pitching yourself or asking for a referral out of the gates, is just get to know Dean. Ask him about, hey, how do you know Patrick? How did you go from Tufts to Moderna? What's it like on the inside? What was it like during COVID? All that good stuff. And basically, you're building the connective tissue that again drives relationships, drives trust. Now, let's say you're out of time. Dean's got to run to a really important meeting, and he's about to walk out of your life forever until you ask the most important question of your career. What is that final question, Alexandra, that could plant the seed that someday grows into a referral?
Mm. Um, Maybe say like, I really enjoyed speaking with you and thank you so much for your time. Would it be okay with you if we followed up or if I sent you my resume or some sort of touch point?
Yeah, for sure. So keep the conversation alive, even if you move into a different channel. And number one, give him a chance to go to bat for you. Here's the question. I want everyone to write this down. Say, hey, Dean, this has been so great. Thanks for sharing all your expertise. I know you got to run. Before you do, if you were back in my shoes and trying to break into Moderna for the very first time, and you were coming in as a Tufts alum, what would you be doing to get your best shot of an interview, knowing what you know today? And there's something about the framing of the question. Obviously, there's
Hmm.
the love for Tufts. There's the sense of generativity that we all have as human beings, kind of wanting to pay it forward to the next generation. But whatever it is, in my experience, people tend to be really honest all of a sudden. They say, hey, here's the real deal. At Moderna, everything is referrals. I was referred, my whole team was referred. You got to get a referral. And then one of two things happens. He either says, Alexandra, send me your resume. Maybe I can refer you today if there's a job you want, maybe even get a referral bonus. Or he just opens the door a little bit. He says, Alexandra, let's stay in touch. If you see a job that I can refer you for down the line, just let me know. And here's the number one question of this entire workshop, Alexandra. If someone cracks open the door for you just a little bit and you have manufactured your own luck, do you say yes, Alexandra?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You walk on through. And that is my message for Alexandra and for everyone on the line. Yeah, things are super tough right now. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But even during the roughest moments, there's always opportunity out there. And we've got to put ourselves out there to get access to it and to be open to it. And Alexandra, for showing everyone how it's done, I want to go to bat for you. And you are going to go to bat for society, I can tell through the work you're doing. So let me do a profile makeover for you. Okay, Alexandra?
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. Okay, we're down to a couple minutes left. If you've got any final questions, any last queries around getting your foot in the door, getting an extra little advantage during a tough time, raise those hands one last time. Let's go to Jonah. Jonah Casale. Feel free to unmute your line. What's on your mind, Jonah?
Hey there.
Hey,
Thanks again, Jeremy, for this whole talk.
yeah,
I actually have several questions, but I'll just say one just for
yeah,
time's sake. I know kind of, I think your overall advice, and I think the advice of a lot of, I guess, LinkedIn people is, the more keywords and the more specific you can be, then the easier it is for recruiters to find you. But let's say you don't have a specific job you're looking for. Let's say you are interested in maybe this industry, but you're open to a wide variety of jobs and you're just looking for a foot in the door. Then how would you tailor your LinkedIn profile when you don't really have an end destination in mind?
yeah, yeah. So I'm going to give you some tough love, Jonah, because I think this is what everyone deserves in this tough moment, which is if we're just putting ourselves out there into the world focused on our own needs, which is like, hey, we just want to break in. We don't even care what we do. Then we're not thinking about it through the right lens, which is the lens of our audience. Because a recruiter never says, oh, I just need to find someone to work in tech or work in entertainment. I need someone to fill this specific role so I can do my job. And so the number one thing to do, Jonah, and this goes right back to where we started, is to invest in the homework. I know no one wants to do homework after you graduated. We all want to apply for jobs online. We want to get interviews. We want to get offers. We want to get money. But the reality is, every single one of those things is easier when you know where you belong and you know what you can do for other people. So, the number one thing for you, Jonah, and for everyone out there is do not worry about LinkedIn profiles or anything else until you've put in the homework of finding the role that is right for you. And if we can spend some time on that, then we're going to be so much better set up for success and everything that comes next. I wish you really good luck out there, Jonah. Okay, that being said, as we close up this session, I want to give out a couple of final goodies to get you on your way. The first thing is, if you want to stay in touch and ask further questions, and I apologize that I couldn't answer everyone today, feel free to connect. One of the things that I love to see are people who are brave and bold and aren't afraid to reach out. So feel free to send me a connection request. There's my LinkedIn. Number two is I would love, love, love to give you some goodies. So if you want to get a free LinkedIn profile makeover or any of those things that we talked about, feel free to grab that through the link in the chat. And then for all the career coaches who made this possible, if you want me to come to bat for you, for your students, for your alumni, feel free to drop me a line on LinkedIn. Happy to hook you up with a special ACSN discount to support your alumni. Okay, all that said, here's what I really want to get to. And that is, I've got one last thing for you in the same way that Steve Jobs always ended his keynotes with one last thing to show. And I'll never forget as an Apple intern being there at the last event that he ever did in the summer of 2011 when he unveiled Siri on stage for the first time. So, in honor of that crazy moment, I want to give you one more thing called Profile Bot 4K. Here's the deal LinkedIn is nobody's favorite social network. It is the boring social network. It is the unsexy social network. And yet, you guys now know the truth. It is the single most important social network to be found for opportunity. So if you come in here and say, hey, I know that I am ready to pivot and make my own luck and bust down the door of opportunity, and I've got to do it on LinkedIn, here's how to break on through. First of all, you're going to start by understanding what recruiters care about. Because we're going to come right back to where we started. At the end of the day, you got to know your audience. And you know that your audience is focused on your headline, they're focused on your about section, they're looking at your cover photo, and they want to see all the skills that are most critical. And then, if you want even more guidance, reach out to your amazing alumni career team or just ask this tool right here. Say, how do I get a referral at Google? And we'll walk you through that process as well. Now, I'm going to give you all this tool for free. The link is in the chat, but I'm going to ask for one little favor, which is just like we were talking about with Jonah, avoid the trap of saying, hey, I just got to get any old random job and just check that box. Instead, spend a little more time finding the path that is right for you, leveraging the power of your alumni community, and then go out there and do exactly what Steve said, which is to put a big honking dent in the universe wherever you go next. So, to everyone who made this possible, Michael Steelman at William Mary, the whole ACSN community, every volunteer, everyone who joined in, know that I am supporting you, your team is supporting you, and we cannot wait to see you go out there and absolutely kick butt. Here's wishing you a beautiful spring, y'all, and incredible adventures to come. Thank you so much.